Hi, my name is Mary Moran. I'm the Education and Outreach Coordinator with the Central Wisconsin Symphony Orchestra. I'm here today with Brianna Trainer, our member of our percussion section, and she's going to give us a little bit of a tour of some of the things you might see in the back of the orchestra when you come to visit us. Hi, Brianna. Thanks for being here.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
Well, you've got a lot of things set up for us today. It looks like a lot of interesting things. First question I have for you, could you tell us what makes something a percussion instrument?
A percussion instrument in general is an instrument that you are going to strike or scrape or hit in some sense. Unlike a string instrument that you would bow or pluck or a wind instrument that you would blow air into, we are going to be striking or hitting things with a number of sticks, our mallets, our hands, sometimes different type of scrapers, or metal beaters. There's a lot of different instruments that can make up a percussion family. We have typically the most things that people see are the drums or different types of membranophones. We have things like the snare drum, which most people have seen.
I definitely recognize that. Yeah.
Yep, we have other larger ones. We have bass drums, we have timpani, we have tom-toms, drum set. The drums on a drum set can count as membranophones. We even have things like a tambourine, which has a head on it like a drum, but it's something you hit with your hands.
Kind of does double duty. It's got the drum part of it and the shaker part of it.
Yeah, it's
Nice.
a very multifaceted instrument.
Very nice. Well, could you maybe tell us a little bit about some of the instruments that are coming up for the next symphony concert? What sort of things are people going to see back there?
Yeah, you are definitely going to see things like the tambourine or a snare drum or the bass drum. You also might see some mallet instruments. Like we have a xylophone here. A xylophone very much laid out like a keyboard with the groups of what would be black keys on a piano laid out in groups of 2 or 3, except the bars are made, the bars are made out of wood instead of like you would see on a piano where they're hitting strings. So.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I see that. Yeah, I never noticed that before at the top. It's got the groups just like on the piano. Interesting.
So just like on a piano.
Cool. All right.
Yeah, and there's tons of different ones. We have other ones. We have a vibraphone, which is made of metal and has a pedal. We have the glockenspiel, or the bells. We have chimes. They're all laid out like this. And very fun to play with mallets.
Cool. I like the way that sounds. So when I've been to the symphony before, I have to say sometimes I look at the back of the orchestra and I see percussion people sitting there. What is it that you guys do in the back of the orchestra? What's it like?
So there's a couple of different ways that composers like to use percussion in an orchestra. Sometimes they like to use percussion as a little bit of a highlighter to the music, just like in your notes at school. You would highlight the really important parts of the lecture. We have percussion instruments to highlight certain parts of the orchestra. So you might hear, somebody playing, the flute or a violin or a viola, and they have this line that goes da 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 ding, and they get a little. This is a triangle. We have a little ding that we have. So it's just a little highlighter to give us a little bit of sparkle at the top note. Or sometimes, if somebody else has a melody, bump da bump da da, we might have. There's all sorts of different things we can do to highlight it. Other times, and when we do percussion like that, a lot of times we're not playing as often, so we do get to sit down a lot. Other times it gets very busy, and the percussion is sort of the big featured big dog section that we have, so we might have a lot more activity of running around a whole table of things I have here. Sometimes we might even get something very interesting or different than usual, like we might have a whole bunch of tin cans that you would find in a kitchen.
That's kind of weird.
I've seen that, and
I didn't know those could be instruments.
And at one of the bigger symphony concerts, there's a very good chance you could see something very interesting that you would see around your house, like tin cans or mixing bowls, or even wind chimes that you have outside your window.
So lots of different things can be percussion instruments.
Lots of different things
even if they don't really look like they would be.
Exactly.
So now I play viola. And there's a bunch of us that play the same instrument. There's usually around 8 of us that sit in the viola section, and people are going to see that in the strings and stuff like that. How many people are in the percussion section?
The percussion section is always going to be different. If you're in band in school, then you might see, maybe 5 to 10 people in there. In an orchestra concert, you might see, between 2 and 3 some days, depending on the music, because most orchestra music uses a viola, but not everything uses percussion. So sometimes we might have fewer people there. Other times we might need 10 percussionists to cover all the big parts if it's something that not everybody can play. So it's always going to depend. So that's always something you can do, is to take a peek in the back of the orchestra and count about how many percussionists are back there. That'll kind of give you an idea of how much sound you might need to expect.
Interesting. Okay. So I'm looking around here, and you said that there are lots of things that can be percussion instruments that don't really look like percussion instruments. I was thinking maybe we could play a little bit of a game, and I could give you some sounds and see if you could make those sounds for us.
I love making sound effects.
All right, great. So the first thing, how about waves on a beach?
If I were doing waves on a beach, I might think on a beach there's sand, and walking on the sand you get a special kind of footstep. So maybe I might take something like, this is a cabasa. It's a Latin instrument with lots of beads on a ridged surface, and I play it like this. So for the footsteps on the sand, I might scrape it kind of slowly like this.
It does.
Get the idea of taking footsteps in the sand. And for the waves of the ocean on the beach, I might have a suspended cymbal. This. It's the same exact thing as crash cymbals you might see sometimes, but we put it on a stand, and I might give it some sort of crashing wave sound. If I ever made music that involved some sort of a beach sound effect, or I wanted to be the sound effects for somebody's play.
Cool, that does sound just like the ocean. Okay, how about a rattlesnake?
Rattlesnake, I've got a perfect one for this. I call this a vibroslap. Originally, when these were made, they are made out of the old jawbones of animals because the teeth would rattle around. Fun fact for the day. And so this is made in the same sort of way. The vibroslap, I'm going to strike it. And a lot of people think this sounds like my rattlesnake noise.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Okay, how about a horse?
A horse, I think maybe we go with some temple blocks, which are a bunch of different wood blocks that are tuned in different pitches. So I might give some kind of a galloping sort of. Maybe it's one of those carriages in the park where they need to keep the horse under control, and we even have the man controlling the carriage have one of those whip cracks like this.
Whoa!
Yeah, surprise!
Okay, how about thunder?
I think I could use your help for this one. I have a very special percussion instrument. It was very inexpensive. It was made out of the side of an old bus on a very big metal sheet, and we're going to call it a thunder sheet.
Okay.
Actually, it's right behind you.
That's
so
huge.
How about you grab this side, and I'll grab this one, and we'll make some thunder together. It just shows you that just about anything can be a percussion instrument. So we're just going to shake this. We'll start with some quiet thunder, and then let's make some louder thunder. Kaboom! All right.
Well, that was fun.
Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Brianna, for being here with us today.
You're welcome. I always have fun showing people what I like to do in the back of the orchestra, since sometimes it's so far away, you can't always see what's going on, so it's nice to get a little close-up look of what I do.
Absolutely. Well, we hope when you come to the symphony orchestra, you'll keep an eye on the back of the orchestra to see what those percussionists are up to.